that that movement already exists within the heart of America. This movement already exists between the heart and within the heart of people everywhere. Martin Luther King said, the American people are more compassionate than the U.S. Congress. The compassion, the interesting thing to me about the American people, I always say when I travel internationally, I always love to sit next to an American on an airplane. Because the high side, when you travel, you see both the strengths and the weaknesses of your own country the way you do not otherwise. And one of the things that's so beautiful about the United States, about the American character, is that if we see a problem, that is the best, that is what Jefferson and the founders were doing. They were seeing a situation as it was, and they said, we can do that. That's what Lincoln and the abolitionists were doing. They saw a situation as it was, they said, we can do better. That's what everybody who results of conferences do. You see a situation as it is, and you say, we can do better. It's about those who in every generation rise to the occasion. And America has always stood for that. America has always stood for the very idea of America is about rising to the occasion of what's possible in the human heart and in human politics and society as an expression of the best of that which is within us as human beings. That's what America is supposed to stand for. And it is heartbreaking. It is sickening. It is enough to make you want to go to sleep the way the disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane went to sleep. The way we have 100 million prescriptions of antidepressants that will be filled in the United States just this year alone. Now, obviously, psychotherapeutic drugs are miracles for people with genuine clinical depression. But we know that 100 million is a number way larger than those who actually chemically need it. Why are so many people depressed? Why are so many people checking out? Why are so many people anesthetized? Because they see what is, and it's so sickening, but they don't know what to do. And the yearning of the heart is to make things right. It's inchoate in people. People don't even know why they're depressed, but they know that something is wrong. And psychic depression is just like physical pain. If your leg didn't hurt, you wouldn't go to reset it. And so the psychic pain that people feel, this is not a moment to check out. This is a moment to check in. This is not a moment to say, well, there's nothing I can do. This is a moment to go, oh, yes, you can. You can go to Washington. You can work its results. You can be part of something that keeps faith with the ages. And this is not the only organization that does that. But for me, I've been drawn to this organization, it's as simple as being drawn to the work of Sam David Harris. Not only the ideas that he stands for, but the fact that I know on a political basis, in terms of integrity, in terms of efficacy, I know that if it comes from Sam, as Jefferson also said, every organization, every institution, he said, is but a shadow of its founder. And if we stand under the shade of a tree that has Sam David Harris's name on it, then I can feel confident. And if Sam says go here, I'll go there. Sam says go there, I'll go there. Sam said a couple of months ago, many of the women who were part of the Sister Giant Conference went as well, 15 of them. We went to Nairobi, Kenya to attend the Microcredit International Summit. One of the things that was very exciting, and I know that all of you know this, but I just want to reiterate for those of you who weren't there. When you go to the International Microcredit Conference, you see what a worldwide major star Sam David is. To me about being in Nairobi was, first of all, two things. First of all, I want to talk for just a moment about my American women sisters. Some of them are here as well. How many of you went to Kenya who were there in Kenya? You know, Americans, we're the character of America. We can do it is so extraordinary. But the difference for me between talking to a European audience and talking to an American audience, Europeans tend to be, on the average, much better educated than Americans. They're better educated and they're more aware. But they are the descendants of people who stayed there. If you're a white American, an ancestor of yours saw a situation and said, I can do better. We were born with that. That's our cultural DNA. When you talk about the kinds of issues we talk about here to a European audience, they're nodding their head while you're talking. But when you then say the typically American thing, which is, okay, so this is what we do to fix it, that's when they glaze over. American audiences are completely the opposite. You're talking about the issues we talk about here, and they are issues that affect all of our lives, at least indirectly, but Americans are kind of looking at you like, huh, I have no idea. I've been trying. But what I find with Americans is that if you give thumbnail sketch, a one-on-one aid. Within 15 minutes, they are starting 501c3s. We're going to do it. We're going to do something. And that's why it's so good to me about the Sister Giant, watching American women who've been so disconnected, who don't remember their civics class of 7th grade, who watch one movie about Alice Paul and women suffragettes, get one 15-minute or 30-minute talk about what's going down on this planet, and they are so there. And to see these women, it's like, we're going to Kenya. And they didn't even know if the world was another, we're going to Kenya. Except for Sam, who is this major dome on the microcredit, they don't even mention America. They, it's kind of like, it's an undermining, just a big eye roll when it comes to the world movement to end hunger and poverty. And here I have these women with me, these like 50 women from the United States, and they're all just dressed all real pretty. They've got their notebooks, and they're attending every workshop at 8 a.m., and they're taking notes. And it reminded me of the scene in Legally Blonde. When Reese Witherspoon sees her ex-boyfriend, and he's shocked that she's at Harvard Law, and he said, what, you thought you would just go to Harvard? And she went, it's Harvard. Because all these people were like looking at this little group of American women who were just attending all these workshops, and people would say to someone, like, why are you here? And some of these women would say, we're here to end poverty. Like, looking at you, who are you? It's like, it's hard. And you could see that they were shocked over there. You could also see that they were over there. Because when America gets it wrong, it's not good for this world. And when America gets it right, we are a light unto the species. America has not always gotten it right, but we have tended to self-correct. We have tended to self-correct. We got it wrong with slavery. What was abolition? The tendency to self-correct. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a time when the general tendency for rich to prey upon the poor is creating, in Jefferson's words, is creating a heartbreaking gap between what is and what can be. But we are keeping faith once again with a philosophical narrative, with a political history, and with a spiritual history in terms of the actualization of humanity, in which, as Martin Luther King said, brotherhood and justice become the underpinning of peace. We are living at a time as much and in ways more than ever that economic values are the organizing principle for human civilization. But we stand for a better idea. We stand for another value. We stand for a higher idea, and that is that humanitarian principles should be the organizing principle of human society. And we know that that's what this country was founded on. The idea that something inside us, not our money, not our class, not an aristocracy, that's all we've done with corporations, is we have recreated an aristocratic situation. Yep. This country was founded on the repudiation of an aristocratic situation. So we are, as Martin Luther King said, when he came to this city, when he came to Washington, the March on Washington, he made it clear. He said, we are not here to break with the great American idea. We are here to fulfill the great American idea. And I believe the results of that. And I believe that the values on which we stand for doing it. And I believe that every person, whether in Milwaukee or in Los Angeles or in Detroit or in Houston or in all of these marvelous cities in which people continue to do this work, you might not feel like you turn on television and you go, what possible good is this doing? What possible good is this doing? But it's doing good in a larger sense. Maybe a larger sense and you'll see, maybe a larger sense and we'll even see in our lifetime. We are on the side of history. We are. We are keeping faith with the past and we are keeping faith with the future. And one thing about America, sometimes it takes us a long time to wake up. Sometimes it takes us a long time to break through the fog. Sometimes it takes us a long time to see what we're doing. Sometimes it takes us a long time to right ourselves, to go back to our hearts, to put in alignment our behavior with our hearts, to put into alignment our politics and our social order with our hearts. But let's be very, very clear. And no other country should doubt it either. We tend to get back to who we are. We tend to get back to what's right. And when we do get it right, we kick ass. When we do get it right, we are a good people and a good country. And I feel so honored to be with Tam Daly Harris and with all of these people in this room who, despite the fact that sometimes it's not easy, and sometimes it is easy to forget that there are millions like us who feel what we feel, that we are part of a great multitude, as John said, quoting Paul Harker, a multitude of people who care. People who care in this country and people who care around the world. And even though they're not here today, even though they might not know in their conscious minds that we are here today, I know in my heart and you know in yours. especially those like the people we met in Kabira. 2 million people living in a space 2 square miles. 400 people sharing one latrine. We know, and that's why we're here, that in their hearts, at the deepest level, they say to each of us, thank you so much. Thank you.